What's the nature of your emergency?
Welcome back to the Tactical Living Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Wilton, joined by Sergeant Wilton. Glenn, how are you?
I'm good.
Today, we're going to talk about the hidden grief of career-ending injuries. And this is one of the worst things that I have seen happen in the law enforcement community. And the reason for that is because as a police officer, you trained for it. You lived it. You gave everything to the job until one day, one injury, be it on duty or not, took it all away.
Yeah, and I think over time, we're going to keep seeing this more and more. Like, I know of a lot of people who've lost their entire careers based off of that one injury, that one incident, that one fight, that one traffic collision. And like, you've put so much time, effort, passion into everything that you're doing. And then that 30-minute or a 5-minute incident takes it all away from you.
The retired officer who feels the loneliest is the one that had their career ended because of medical retirement.
Yeah, and that dynamic is because depending on the injury, depending on what it is, like over the years, I've seen a lot of younger officers and older officers too, but like their career just is taken away from them because of that one injury, because they can't accomplish the duties anymore of being a police officer. But then you see the other end of the spectrum too, is those people who are doing anything and everything they possibly can to get that medical retirement compared to like wanting to invest themselves so much into their career.
Yeah, and as an officer, when that injury or illness or medical retirement forces you to close this chapter of your life, I feel like you're the person that is often left behind to grieve, but nobody ever talks about this. And I have had a lot of in-depth conversations with officers who, you know, in addition to all of this, a lot of them are still like litigating things years after.
Yeah, it takes a long time, and it sucks because now you have, and I've seen this in a lot of incidents where you're injured on duty and you're litigating it ongoing for a long time, but you're almost a pariah in that instance to where, people don't want to talk to you anymore because you don't want to be involved. You don't want to be encompassed into the mess of whatever they have going on.
There are some signs for us to pay attention to, whether this is yourself or maybe you're keeping an eye out for somebody else, to be able to tell whether or not somebody is grieving the loss of their career. And I think the first one is that you might feel like you've lost your purpose. So maybe you wake up and you're unsure of who you are or what you're supposed to do now. And this can create this massive sense of emptiness or even really deep sadness.
Yeah, because especially in the person who's identified themselves so much as a police officer, and this is who they are, but even ones who have a healthy balance, like inevitably you're going to have like, okay, wake up in the morning, got to get ready for work, go to work, serve my community, be the best I possibly can, and then go home and be the best dad, husband, wife, spouse that you can to your loved ones. But if you don't have what is that drive? What is your purpose now in life? And it's hard to find that, especially if it's something that you worked so hard to achieve and you strive so hard to get.
Yeah, and another example is that you might avoid talking about the injury or retirement. So let's say that you dodge questions or you change the subject quickly. And what this does is it suppresses the healing, and it can actually deepen the shame or even that feeling of isolation. And another example would be that you're angry. You're angry at the system, you're angry at the circumstances, you're angry at yourself. So let's say that you replayed what you could have done differently over and over, and it keeps you stuck in this sort of loop of blame and all of these what ifs.
And, what ifs are killers in many instances, because you can't go necessarily off of those what ifs. You have to go with the information that you have and make those decisions. There's instances to where, the injury is impacting your life, and that's it's your life. You only get one. the career, and this is what I tell my guys all the time is, it's an important job that we do. And when you're there, be present, be the best you possibly can be. But ultimately, if you were to be gone tomorrow, do you think the city's going to miss you? And the reality is, no, like they will replace you. You will have people and the connections that you've built within your community of law enforcement, but those dwindle over time depending on how deep seated those relationships are.
Yeah, and too, I hate seeing this one where somebody might feel like they're forgotten or left behind by their team. So like the texts stop, that camaraderie fades, and it just adds this layer of additional loss. That community and that connection is just gone.
And that's why it's so important to have a network, not only outside of your law enforcement family, but you have friends and family that you lean on, that you have that connection with, and not to have everything tied into your department, because inevitably, and I've seen this and I'm guilty of it, of when people retire, when they leave, it's losing that communication, losing that relationship that you had, that friendship that you had, because of they're not at the front of the mind anymore because you're not seeing them regularly.
Yeah, and something too is that you might struggle to find a new identity outside of the badge, and maybe nothing else feels as meaningful or as powerful, and this can lead to depression, anxiety, even reckless behavior is something that I've seen. But there are ways to be able to begin healing from this, and I think the first is to make sure that you acknowledge that you're grieving. It's a loss, and despite nobody talking about this, you can give yourself permission to mourn the life that you thought that you would have.
Yes, absolutely. And I just want to say this, if this is resonating with you, and whether you're the retiree or you have partners that you haven't thought about in a long while, and this is kind of, oh yeah, I remember so-and-so and they retired and it's been a few years since I've talked to them, reach out to them, shoot them a text, give them a call. Just take that time, because you don't know what an impact that can not only have on you, but on your partner.
And let me say this, you don't need to get over it. You need to be heard and you need to be seen. So you could tell your story to somebody who could hold space for it, and you can tell it over and over again as many times as you need to. And you can redefine your purpose on your terms. Your mission didn't end, it's just evolving, and you can find ways to be able to serve, but in new capacities.
And what really comes to mind for me right now is, there are organizations for cops that meet up and do that. Just like for military, like if you were in the military, you have the VFWs, you have those organizations you can go to connect with. You might not have been in the same platoon, same company, but you have people who have the shared experiences to where you can still have that camaraderie, still have that brotherhood or sisterhood with them in those individual settings.
You can also create a tribute to your time in service. So I'm thinking of when my mom died, I did the whole thing where I made a big board and all her pictures were on it and stuff. And I later gave it to my brother who was in prison at the time. And something like that is meaningful, right? Because everything is all in one spot, and it's something for you to be able to reflect on, but then also for anybody else who might see it to be able to reflect on. And when that happens, a lot of people are going to ask questions, and that too in and of itself is actually healing. And so when you do something like a photo wall or a memory book or a shadow box, I think it's important to do something like that honors your impact and how it allows for this sort of element of closure.
Yeah, being able to cycle yourself through the entire grieving process and to go through each one of the emotions, it's important. Are you inevitably going to miss it? Probably. But it's being able to push yourself through each one of the steps of that process and say, okay, make it to where you actually feel okay that you're no longer part of that.
Yeah, and you made mention of this, but connecting with others who've been through it, I think, is so important because it gives us an understanding that it can be done, right? I always reflect on, if I'm having a difficult time with something, I always ask myself, like, has somebody else done it? And if they have done it, then I know that it's possible. And the only barrier in between that and me is that I don't know how to do it yet. And the reason that I do it, or how I know how to do it, is to seek out somebody who has.
Yeah, being able to have those communications, those relationships with others who have experienced or could be experiencing the same thing and working through it together in a way. And it's being able to truly have that shared experience, find your support nexus outside of your being in the first responder realm, but also when you're craving that brotherhood, that camaraderie that you've had for so long, it's going to those avenues and saying, hey, you know what? I want to just be back in this for a little bit.
I hope you've gotten some value out of today's episode. If you have, do us a favor, drop a review, subscribe down below. And as always, know that I'm sending you a long, tight hug from my home to yours.